Welcome back here to another episode of Infamously Speaking, post Super Bowl edition. Normally the vibes would be down after such a demoralizing loss, but y'all already know what the deal is. Vibes are always up on this show. Why? For one reason and one reason only. We say what we want. That's it. We say what we want. We mean what we say. And if we're wrong, we'll come back and we'll admit that we were wrong. And I know we did a little mini show on Sunday, but I had to bring the legend himself, OG Patriots fan, my co-host Quan, to talk about what was, I wouldn't even want to call it a game. It was more like a game where only one side knew they were playing and the other side kind of just showed up. So before we jump into that, if you're not already subscribed to the Infamously Speaking YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and do that. Or follow the podcast or whatever you do on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you are listening to us. Also, leave a comment, interact with the show, leave a like, share with friends and family. Helps the following grow, helps other people get tapped in, helps incredible fire content like this continue to come out. Make sure you are tapped in. Quan, now I kick it to you. Just initial overall thoughts about the specific game, you know, how you're feeling, and then maybe we can kind of do a post-mortem on the season at whole, to maybe give you a little bit of inspiration.
Yeah, we could do that. Life has been lifing, to say the least. It's actually makes sense, right? I'll be honest. Patriots my team. They've been my team. I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I did not watch the Super Bowl. I didn't get a chance. Life has been real. And I think it's important, right? Because usually I'm like a diehard off every Sunday I possibly can to enjoy the football games. And weeks leading up to it, for the last, probably 2 or 3 months, I haven't been able to. Like, how many times have I come on the show and I'm like, bro, I missed the games. Like, I'm either working or I'm too busy or I'm dealing with life shit. So, relax, people. I'm getting there. I have to build the suspense, right? So,
Ain't nowhere to go. Season's over. You're good.
So, all those weeks kind of helped prepare me to not be pissed off that I missed the game. And, I had a lot of people reach out to me to pull up. Shout out to my boy David, or everybody, obviously. But, like, I didn't get the opportunity. I was going through a lot of shit. And it is what it is. Like, clearly I didn't miss much because from what I'm hearing, our offensive line looked like they played Pee Wee football. And, it wasn't a good showing, which is saving me some of that drama, some of that stress of, like, what the fuck are we doing? Throwing shit and all that. But I think, you know what it is, too, is like, now, granted, I wanted to watch the game, but I kind of talked about that prior. Like, fantasy football kind of got me away from it because you care more about your team that you created or built, where it's not like before. And if I'm being honest with you, I think having so many appearances, I wouldn't say it numbs you, but you kind of get used to it. It sounds crazy, but you do. Like, I know you wouldn't know as like a Jets Giants fan, but like it's like regular. Like, we're there again. You know what I mean? Like, it's just part of the game.
No, I don't. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I do not know.
I didn't even look back at this. Like, I've been dealing with a lot of shit. I'm still dealing with it. I'm trying to just take care of some business and this fucking crib. But looked like you wanted to say something.
No, listen, man. First and foremost, I wanted to, give you my condolences. That was a tough way to go out. I mean, we both picked the Patriots, so I'm not gonna say like I had Seattle. Secondly, I thought that was a low blow. Talking about the Jets and the Giants. You know what the Jets and the Giants are really, really good at? Being inept. I like to pride myself in saying that I never give up. I should put this on my resume. I'm loyal. I can endure pain and still show up with a positive attitude. I could take scrutiny and still show up. I really should add that to my resume. I should really add those skills. I mean, I feel like I would be impressed. Like, if I got a resume and somebody said 20-year veteran of being a Jets fan, they're getting some kind of pity points from you know what I mean? Like
That's crazy.
20. You're gonna son. Like the last big win is in 2010 against the Patriots in the AFC divisional round. Like that's the crowning.
That's the
jewel
highlight. Yeah.
of this century. You
That's
know what I mean? Like
crazy.
that's the crown jewel.
Yeah, that's tough. You see what I mean? Like,
That's tough. He's like, we just been to 10
if the
Super
Jets get to
Bowls.
the Super Bowl, I think you're ecstatic. And then you're probably heartbroken if they show up the way the Patriots did, I guess. But I thought about this, right? And I'm not making excuses like they didn't show up, apparently. Like I didn't show up. But you got the rookie lineman, who I've heard was awful.
Terrible.
You got 2-year in Drake May,
who's also bad.
And then you got a 1-year head coach in this system. And you know what a stat was I saw? We had 30 new players on this team, which is the most ever to make the Super Bowl. That's a lot to deal with. And that's not an excuse, because if we got there, we got to just finish the job, right?
We got
there. So
you got there.
All I'm saying is that like a Jets fan, I'm very optimistic with next season.
That is not like a Jets fan. That's not like a Jets fan.
But a Jets fan is optimistic, because you just said you come in there with, you could be disappointed and come the next week.
I'm going to be positive, because what else is there to do? Like, if I just remain negative, I'd probably suffer from problems related to alcohol consumption.
Yeah, which is funny. This is how aware I am. So, because I got all these problems, right? And the Patriots just lost. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get on this show. I'm gonna have 1 or 7.
Or 7.
And I said, you know what? No, because that's gonna lead to more problems I don't want. So
there you go.
I got me 0 Coke and a water bottle. So smartening up.
Coffee. Right here, not sponsored.
This guy, you got money when you're sipping out of a Polo cup.
This was a gift. It was a gift. I didn't buy it with my own money. All right, let's get to the game.
Right, so I apologize for that long.
No, you're good.
Statement.
No, you're good. Listen, you got to explain to the people why you're not going to have any cogent analysis of the game, and that's okay. Listen, and if you haven't seen it already, well, I'll drop the link in the description of this video. And if you're listening in audio, go youtube.com/infamously speaking. I posted a video right after the Super Bowl ended. It's about an 18-minute long video kind of breaking down my initial thoughts of the game. So I don't want to rehash a lot of that here. I really want to focus on a couple of things. First, I want to talk about is like going back to when we were kind of talking about the game, like, hey, let's review where each team has an advantage. And we both were like, coaching 100% goes to New England. We're like, quarterback 100% goes to New England. We acknowledged offensive line was probably going to be a problem for the Patriots. But we thought that McDaniels would be able to kind of mitigate that through play calling. And we thought, Seattle's defense was better, but New England's defense was no slouch, which came to be true. New England's defense is the only reason why it wasn't like 500-0. But we got everything else wrong. And, the beauty of being able to come back on this show and do this is because my favorite part of this whole Super Bowl saga has been, obviously we post our picks, we post our commentary on social media here on YouTube, right? And nobody says anything until the game's over, right? And then they come back and they're like, oh, credit to the people that did comment, like, hey, Seahawks are going to put belt before the game. But I love the fact that people were coming back and saying, how did this all work out? And obviously the answer is not great. But we'll own it. That's the beauty of what we do, is that we're going to make bold predictions. And sometimes we're going to be right, like the Patriots making the Super Bowl, right? And sometimes we're going to be wrong, like the Patriots winning the Super Bowl.
We could live with that.
We could live with that. With that all day. But I thought Seattle just played a phenomenal game. Just all around. Mike Macdonald was clearly the better coach in this game. Sam Darnold, I called this out in the little short that I did, but I was extremely impressed by Sam Darnold. And this is why, for all the stat heads, which sometimes people who listen to the show, when I say certain things, you might feel like, hey, I'm getting caught up in the stats. And I'll take that criticism, because sometimes I do. But this is where the eyes take over. Because if you look at Sam Darnold's stat line, it wasn't super impressive. Some people would call it pedestrian level of game. But I thought it was the perfect game watching it. Because it was exactly what they needed him to do. And I called out how Sam Darnold, credit to his credit, winning the Super Bowl, throughout this playoff run, did everything that Seattle needed him to do. The first game against San Francisco was a blowout. He didn't need to do much. The second game against the Rams, they needed him to do everything. And he did everything and outdueled Matt Stafford with the arm. This game, he outdueled Drake May with his legs. And it's not the rushing totals, but it was the fact that he was able to avoid so many negative plays because of his ability to stay upright, move out of the pocket, not make the dumb decision, and just keep them in good down and distances to either punt and get really good field position or to keep drives alive and kick those field goals. So I thought he was really impressive. I thought, obviously, Kenneth Walker winning the Super Bowl MVP, he was very impressive. That entire defense was very impressive. That's what was so crazy about the game, is that you're watching it and the Seahawks are just dominating up and down the field. And they're up 19-0 after the Drake turnover because they scored a touchdown, the Barner touchdown. And you're like, damn, this game is over, man. Like, it's over. And then the Patriots score a touchdown in less than a minute. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's not over. There's plenty of time left. They're only down 2 scores at this point. They just proved that they can move the ball. And then they stop Seattle on the ensuing possession. And then they start to move the ball down the field, and then Drake kind of has an ill-advised throws the pick, and that kind of sealed it. But one thing, I talked about how Sam Darnold, even though the stats didn't show that maybe he played the best game, he looked really good, in my opinion. Outside of like the first couple of drives, he looked a little shaky. Drake didn't look comfortable at all the entire game, and that's what happens when your left tackle gives up an NFL high 14 pressures, highest in any game all season long. But even when he had time to throw, you could tell he was uneasy. He was jittery. And that calls for ball. Like, there was a throw that he had to pop on a third down where if he just puts it on him, it's a first down. The drive keeps going. And he missed them, and it was like a 5-yard pass. And, you know, Drake was the most accurate quarterback in football this year. He doesn't miss those. But you could just tell that defense, he was the one seeing ghosts. He was the one seeing ghosts that game.
So I got a question because I didn't catch it. I thought we'd have an advantage, especially because Josh McDaniels was, calling these plays, and he has so much experience, especially in that game. Actually, Julian Edelman had broke it down pretty good with Josh McDaniels. Like, he understands it's a marathon. That game is a marathon. It's longer, timeouts long, halftime show, which we just talked about, super long. So you have all this extra time. So you don't want to go out there and use all your energy at the beginning because you understand it's a longer game than normal. But because the offense was so stale throughout the majority of the game, was it play calling? Was it just Drake being pressured and then jittery?
Well, I mean, it was first and foremost, it was the Seattle defense being able to destroy that offensive line with only 4, but then really great timely blitzes called by McDonald that really disrupted their offense. But it started with the front 4 and that pressure they were able to generate. And then it credit to the broadcast, they even called it out where it's like they just got to spread the offense out and instead of having everything so packed so Drake can get a clearer view of what the defense is trying to do. And that's where they found the success on that quick drive. And even when they started moving the ball before the interception. So I get the fact that it's a marathon, but it did feel like they were a little sluggish offensively, especially because they couldn't get anything going running. I think that's where the game flow needs to kick in. It's like, hey, maybe we do need to turn it up a little bit early just to give some life into the offense. I mean, they punted, I believe, on every drive in the first half. Every possession they punted.
That's insane.
So,
and when you think of McDaniels, like, you don't think of that, right? But then I'm starting to think of that old quote or that clip where somebody said something about McDaniels cheating when he was the head coach, and they went 6-0 when he was in Denver. Did he not have enough time to cheat? Patriots kind of known for that.
Did he not have enough time to cheat? It's crazy. No, I don't think that's what it was. I just think that they played a better team. I wanted to talk about this was because people are going to be like, well, this is what happens when you have a team that plays a criminally easy schedule, one of the easiest, if not the easiest schedule, right? I think for a Super Bowl appearance. And I hate that still. Because people are like, this just proves that the NFC is way harder, AFC is easy. I believe, if I'm not incorrect, 4 of the 5 toughest schedules this league were played by AFC teams. Obviously, the Patriots had the easier one, but so that kind of shows you, like, hey, maybe the AFC isn't as easy as we think it is. And then they're going to talk about, well, there was no Mahomes and no Burrow. Well, the Bengals sucked, even when Burrow played, and the Chiefs were no good this year. That just is what it is. You're going to blame a team for winning? Like, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. You're going to blame a team for winning. You're going to blame a team for the other team's players being hurt. That doesn't make any sense. And then we start getting into hypotheticals like, well, if Justin Herbert had his tackles, no, it wouldn't have been different. We've seen Justin Herbert's in our playoffs before. We know what he looks like. Well, if CJ Stroud could play competently, well, you know what? We've seen CJ Stroud throughout the season. Who knows if that rookie magic is gone? Hopefully it's not. But you're going to blame them because the Patriots put it to him? Bo Nix played. Who fucking knows what happens if Bo Nix played like the Denver offense hasn't been sluggish? They like to turn it on in the second half. Nobody was doing shit in that second half.
Mm-hmm.
You have no clue how many of those games go out. So they play the Seahawks, and the Seahawks are the better team. But that shouldn't invalidate a 14-3 season and get into the Super Bowl. Because then what does that say about Seattle? You're going to say, oh, well, but no one's saying, oh, Seattle, they play this overrated, poor talent Patriots team. So then was that the easiest Super Bowl game ever? You're going to invalidate that Super Bowl championship? Why? It's not Seattle's fault that's the road that the Patriots got.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to think about it like this. Seattle, who'd they play in the divisional round? Just the most injured team in the NFL. Right? Who'd they play? They played in the championship game. They played the Rams, who had, over the back half of the season, one of the worst defenses in all football. You're going to knock them for that? That's not their fault. You play who you play. You line up against who you line up, because we've seen this any given Sunday. So I hate the whole, the Patriots' easy schedule. They ain't deserve to be there. Then if that's the case, then the Seahawks beat a team that didn't deserve to be there, and that's one of the lightest Super Bowls ever. You going to say that? That just sounds stupid. It sounds stupid.
It does. That was a great breakdown. Man, this guy came prepared today.
I had time to think.
I appreciate that.
I had time to think. Okay, we can move off the Super Bowl again. Congratulations, Seattle Seahawks. I believe the parade is on Wednesday, February 11th. I'm sure Seattle's going to be crazy. Hell no. Absolutely not. But I do want to get your take on this. We'll start with the Patriots. Of course, we can move to Seattle. Let's talk about outlook for these teams moving forward. Obviously, Patriots now first place team. This season they were a last place team, so they had the benefit of an easier schedule. What do you think moving forward looks like for the Patriots? Like, actually, first I want this from you. If you're Mike Vrabel in that locker room, what does that message look like?
Let's get to work. We're right there. We're a few players away, maybe a few players. Like I said, I think as a fan, what I'm optimistic about is just that's a brand new structured team, and we've made it that far.
Right.
Again, no excuses. I'm not making excuses. You got there. But I don't know. If the offensive line was that bad, we get some O-line help, make Drake feel a little bit more secure. Maybe that helps with his nerves. But really, it's like, all right, let's get back to work. We talked about that a couple episodes ago. Like, sometimes the outcome isn't just the win or loss. It's the lesson that you're learning and you take away to move forward. So, does it sting a little? Of course, because that's the ultimate goal. But you're right there. You have, we talked about it the last few weeks, like you have the foundation with the coach and the quarterback.
Right.
Now you just pick up the few pieces. Drake is still a hell of a player. You're not second MVP voting if you're not a hell of a player. Did he look like it?
100%.
No, he didn't look like it, right? Throughout the whole postseason, he really didn't look like it. But he also played some of the toughest defenses. And again, no excuse, because if you're an MVP caliber player, you expect him to step up in those moments. But it's young, second year. Not
Yeah,
everybody's Brady.
that's a fact. No, 100%. You know, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but Jalen Brown he streams, and there was a clip that I saw, and it was like, you know, you're only going to grow from this. You know, do you want to win? And I'm paraphrasing, right? Of course you want to win. Of course you want to win. He's like, but I've been there before. I've been to the finals and lost, right? When he's talking about losing to the Warriors, he's like, but it just makes you stronger, makes you better, right? It makes you more prepared the next time you get there, right? So I thought that was dope from one Boston star to another, to kind of who's been through a similar situation of losing, right? And but hey, listen, it's just a step in your journey. And I know, you know, the NFL is tough because there's way more parity in the NFL than there is in the NBA. And because it's one game when you're in the playoffs, right? It's not a series. It's one game. You have one bad game and you're done. Your whole season's over. You know, it just goes to show you, absolutely. You know, again, just step in the journey. Now, I'll say this. The schedule is much tougher next year. Much, much tougher. We don't know when they
I'm good
play.
with that.
No, I think New England fans want that, right? Like they want, and I think the players do too. This is an awesome opportunity to validate what you just did. And you don't even need to have the same record or the same seeding, right? But to prove like, yeah, we can beat anybody, don't matter. So here's your opponents, okay? I'm gonna start with the home opponent. We don't know when you guys play them. The schedule at least happens later in the offseason. Here's your opponents. Of course, you have your divisional games, right? Bills, Jets, Dolphins. Here's who you play at home, other than those three. Broncos, Vikings, Packers, Raiders, Steelers. Pretty decent draw. Now, here's the away schedule. Here's away games. Of course, the divisional games. Bears, Chiefs, Lions, Jaguars, Chargers, Seahawks.
This is a tough schedule. Those are
All
all
those
playoff teams except for the Lions, but you know how we feel about the Lions.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So the Patriots have an awesome opportunity to say, hey, listen, that last year wasn't a fluke. And guess what? We're putting belt to good opponents this time. Or what we think will be good opponents.
You know what? Just to bring it back full circle, right? Forged in Foxborough. Loved it. But now that it's forged, still sharpened steel.
That's it.
I love the tough opponents because it gives you a gauge of, you know, how talented you are, how you guys can get wins, and it prepares you for those moments that you need when it comes down the stretch. So I love it.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, they're gonna face 5 of the other 7 division winners next season. So that just goes to show, and we get the Super Bowl rematch right away. It just goes to show you, you know, listen, this is what happens when you come in first. Now you have the burden of defending the crown. And it's interesting, when you're on the come up and everybody, like you're the underdog, that's one different kind of mentality. So now I'm curious with this, and then we'll go to the Seahawks. Now you're, right, when you were Vrabel, you talk about being the Fords and Foxborough, all that stuff, right? It's like, we're going to get back to relevancy. We're going to set a foundation, a culture. We're not going to be the cellar dwellers anymore. Now, you're not surprising anybody. You were just in the Super Bowl. How do you keep guys locked in to maintain a position of dominance?
How do you keep players locked in? I think you've already done it throughout the season, especially as a leader that Vrabel has been. I mean, it was talked about all 2 weeks of him implementing that culture, creating a program where guys want to win together. So if you got that foundation, you just keep building on it. You know what players are driving that with you for that unified message. You know what teammates looks like. And you continue to build on that. You bring in other players who wants to buy into that kind of program. You've seen some success, right? You talked about it, I think, last episode where, you know, free agents are going to want to go there now, knowing that's a great opportunity. So you've already implemented the culture and the foundational piece of winning and wanting to do that. Now you just build on it. That's what I feel.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I love that you called that out. I think the mindset does need to change just a little bit, though, right? Where like the mindset before was we're all we
Like the
got, you know,
expectations.
right? Because now there are realistic expectations on you, where it's like, no, you won the division, you won multiple playoff games. Obviously, you beat Buffalo in Buffalo last year, so it's not like it's going to be different. You're now you're playing from a position of power when before you was trying to build that power. If that makes sense. But I think losing the Super Bowl is going to put a lot of hunger in people. And then if it doesn't, then you know who you got to move on from. Like if losing that game didn't make you more hungry, and I don't mean in the immediate aftermath of it. Like guys are going to be heartbroken. They're going to need to get away from the game. Absolutely. But when they come back in for, you know, OTAs and getting ready for, you know, camp and then the preseason, guys, they got to be hungry. Hungrier than they were this time to make a statement. Now it's time to make an even bigger statement. And if they ain't about it, I mean, you got to identify that as early as you can and then bring the right kind of people in.
No, that's a fact.
All
That's
right, let's shift this. My bad. Anything else you want to add before we shift to Seattle? All right. Super Bowl champs. Let's talk about them. So
They suck.
Shucks, man. That was one of the more complete teams maybe we've seen in a while from all three phases of the game. Schedule next season. Obviously, the NFC West was one of the tougher divisions in football with three teams winning over 12 games, Rams, Niners, and of course the Seattle Seahawks. We'll start with their away opponents, of course, their division rivals. And then they play the Commanders, the Broncos, the Raiders, the Eagles, and the Panthers. Not too terrible.
I love the Panthers.
Me too, man. Me too. I'm telling you, even though I picked the Rams, I was hoping. They had it. They had it. They had it. And then at home, they got the Cowboys, the Giants, the Chiefs, Chargers, Bears, and of course the New England Patriots. So a pretty balanced schedule. Nothing too terrible there. Usual suspects. They even gave them a pity game playing the Cowboys. I don't have all the free agents right in front of me, right, for either team, Patriots or the Seahawks, and what they need to take care of. I think the biggest question is how do you maintain that edge? How do you maintain the edge? Because now the target's on your back 100%. You think the target was on the Patriots' back? For sure it's going to be. But you're the champ. You didn't get everybody's best shot, right? So how do you maintain that edge that made you so great?
I think that you're probably going to have to use some of that fuel of what you said. One of the easier Super Bowls against one of the easier opponents. I'm not sure, but I feel good about it saying the majority is going to not have them as the favorites for next year.
You know what? Let me look because they're probably already Super Bowl favorites. So let me see.
You know, and you lose a game, you're going to hear all the talks almost immediately. So
Seattle open as favorites.
They have
plus 800. Rams right behind
next?
them. Rams plus 900. 8-1, 9-1. Buffalo 12-1. Ravens 12-1.
That's crazy.
I think Buffalo and Baltimore is crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
100%.
To keep that, I mean, you got a young group with JSN, Charbonnet will be back. You know, a lot of people don't respect Sam Darnold. They might now because of the Rams game and how he, you know, like you called out, he played well because he didn't force anything. But it's like, what is that all you want? Is that little taste of success? The thing is, it's tough, right? Like you said, with the NFL, a lot of parity. There's just a lot of things that can happen and transpire throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's really having those players that, all right, we won. Is that the goal for you? Like, or now there's a legacy that could potentially happen. You go back, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about that's what we're talking about, but yeah, absolutely. Back-to-back champions. I mean, I know the Chiefs just did it recently, but before that, it was the Patriots as the last time, the early dynasty Patriots, right? If I'm not mistaken. We're the last team to do that before the Chiefs did it. So
23. I mean, 03, 04.
304. I mean, that's rarefied air if you repeat. And I know people are probably thinking like, oh, it's too early to talk about that. We're not talking about them repeating. I'm sure once we get closer to the season, I bet that neither of us are going to take Seattle. I feel really strongly, unless they go out and have a killer offseason.
Actually, I know what I got to do.
What do you got to do?
I got to place a bet on every team other than the Patriots to make it and win the Super Bowl. And then we got a chance, a great chance.
Nah, I think they're gonna be on to you. They're gonna be on to you.
We'll see.
What we need is
it's only $31, right?
We need Drake to do it.
$31.
Hey, listen, I'm paying that every time. I think retaining some of these. I have the Seattle free agents pulled up here. I hear the people that some of the key unrestricted free agents: Josh Jobe, one of their great cornerbacks; Reek Woolen, another cornerback. One of their safeties, Kobe Bryant; Rashid Shaheed; Kenneth Walker is an unrestricted free agent. Those are just some. So it's like, all right, who do you bring back? Who do you think you could replace? Looking at other free agents to be from other teams. So that's going to be interesting to see how they kind of navigate that. John Schneider is an awesome GM, so he always drafts very well. So I don't think you're going to be too concerned about that. I think the biggest thing, if I'm Seattle, is your division is no joke, man. Like, and I think that helps motivate you. Like, even within your own division, you got teams that people think can make it, right? Obviously, the Rams, I just told you, opened up as 9-1 favorites right behind the Seahawks. Matt Stafford announced he's returning when he accepted his MVP award. So that team is immediately dangerous.
He said he's returning?
He's coming back. He's coming back. They got to fix the defensive things, but Matt Stafford at the helm, Puka Devontae, you feel really good about the Rams. And then who knows what the Niners? The Niners are like the ultimate wild card. 1 year they're good, 1 year they're bad. 1 year they're good, 1 year they're bad. Who knows? But they could somehow remain healthy. That's a dangerous team. Arizona's out of there. But you got two potentially really, really good teams in your own division. So I think that number one is a positive for the Seahawks. When you have such a great competition and you're going to play each of those teams twice.
Yeah. It goes back to that still sharpen still.
Exactly. You beat the Rams, which seemed like the only team that could figure out your defense all season long. Outside of that one shootout they had against Tampa. And then to your point, what you said, the legacy thing, especially, I mean, I think the legacy thing matters more for coach and quarterback than it does for any other position or anybody else on the field. And that's more for like the fan thing, right? Like when we talk about it and the media talks about it, not necessarily the people themselves, but for us, because I mean, well, if they win another Super Bowl and Sam plays well, you could be talking about, hey, Sam might, if he has a couple more decent seasons with Seattle after the fact, back-to-back Super Bowl winner, now he's knocking on the door of the hall.
I was just gonna say, don't contradict yourself, because I remember you saying like the players, you know, they keep the Hall of Fame in high regard. So yeah, the legacy might pertain more to the coaches and the quarterback, but winning back-to-back Super Bowls helps your case of getting in there for sure.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if it helps your case for other positions, right? Like just because you're a four-time Hall of Fame,
sure.
I mean, four-time Super Bowl champion.
If Kenneth Walker stays on the team and balls out in the Super Bowl, wins again, how's that not help his case?
I don't know if we just look at it as heavily. The only reason Eli Manning is a contention for the Hall of Fame was because of his 2 Super Bowl seasons. They weren't even back-to-back.
Granted.
So, but we're not talking about Justin Tuck, right? Who was a great pass rusher, but he was a 2-time Super Bowl champion. We're not talking about him. Why? Because I think that matters more for the quarterback than any other position. Because winning is more correlated to them. And I know some people hate the quarterback win stat. Like, wins are a team thing. And other people love the quarterback win stat. I personally am a quarterback wins type of guy. Just throwing that, especially in the postseason. I think it just matters a little bit more for that position. I mean, it definitely helps you. Like, for example, like Terrell Davis, even though he was a beast, he didn't have a super long career, but his performances in the Super Bowl definitely helped him. No doubt about it. So you have a valid point. 100% you make a valid point. So
Yeah, no, you do too. Like, I agree with you. I think it does pertain more to the quarterback and the coaches, except for Bill. But
yeah, that's a tough one.
uh,
Now, okay, my bad.
you know what sucks about that? It's not even just about Bill and Kraft. It got so much attention. It took away. I lost track that Fitzgerald and Drew Brees is in there, right? It's like a lot of that attention went that way where you couldn't even, you
Yeah,
kind of forgot what the hell who got it in,
it
which is
does feel a little
unfortunate.
bit weird. It feels a little bit weird. And like I said, it's like it's the precedent that you set moving forward, which I mean, I don't envy people that have to, make those decisions, right? Even though, I mean, that's almost as slam dunk as it gets. Because it's not only what you do here. I mean, I'm gonna make this a loose analogy here, okay? But you know how like in courts, whenever people go to trial, they use precedent from other cases in the past, right? You
Hmm.
bring up other things.
Yeah.
This is how a jury decided. This is what a judge ruled before in a case similar to this one. They bring it up all the time. So you're setting precedent for future outcomes potentially. So,
Hmm.
and we got into that, so I won't go dip back into that. But I want to say this, outside of Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks, of course, who I think won big this weekend is quarterbacks that have a ton of potential, but just kind of flame out in the situations that they initially get drafted into. Like, think about it. This guy's on his fifth team.
Yeah.
And he landed in the right spot. And I think his starting with San Francisco, getting into Shanahan's offense really helped him. Then going to another great mind in O'Connell in Minnesota. But it just goes to show, like, hey, maybe we shouldn't give up on guys with talent so quickly. I
Yeah.
mean, look at Geno's resurgence in Seattle right before the down year here. Daniel Jones had a really great start to the season before he got hurt in Indianapolis. Get the guy in the right situation, and maybe there's something there.
Yeah, I think we talked about that before too. Like, the situation definitely matters. And that's a great call out because we kind of talked about that in one of the episodes recently too. Like, if you get a team member who's not or has a reputation of not being good
Right.
or great, right? And then you sit down with that player and say, "What do you think about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get you to where we feel you can be? How do we tap into your potential?" So that's a great call out. And the problem I think is that it's what can you do for me now, league, right? So even if you draft someone and they're not progressing as some of the others. So prime example, CJ Stroud, hell of a rookie season, right? And on the opposite end, you have Bryce Young, who went before him, struggled, absolutely struggled. Um, Credit to the Panthers, they didn't just give up on him, although they benched him and then brought him back in. But I would say he had a bounce back season. Made a
He
playoff
definitely
game,
played
should have
well.
won, right? And it takes time to develop. That's why I do appreciate Brady's comments on like the game now. We're not taking the time to develop our players. We're just expecting them to just go out there and win. Then you have so much success as young players, like even my guy, right? Daniels, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now granted he got injured, but like because you see that success, it's like we can get that. We need that. If they can
Right.
do that, we can do that. But no, sometimes it takes time to have that development process. I also listened to another, I think it was a podcast or something that Tom was on, and he was just talking about like, he didn't give a fuck if you could. I remember the scouts. He said he was like the scout, and I'm paraphrasing. So, but like the scouts was like, "Wow, this guy can throw the ball 80 yards on his knees." I was like, "Well, what the fuck does that matter?" You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, what does
He
that
doesn't do
matter?
that in the game.
Yeah. Can he break down a defense? Can he call
Right.
out the blitzes and understand, packages and all that? So like that IQ part of the game. And I think people take that for granted in the sense of like Brady was really out there playing chess when a lot of them were playing checkers, and that's why he had so much success.
100%.
I was watching another one. I forgot who it was. I think it was who was that? It doesn't matter. It was a player, and the coach of one of the coach was like, "The defense is going to run this. They're going to run this against us. We got to be prepared with this." And Brady sent them tape on every corner. It's like, all right, this guy hates zone. This guy absolutely hates zone. This guy, he's not good at defending the deep ball, so he's gonna hold a lot more. Like he had all that shit broken down every week of every player, like to a science.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And he had that mindset probably because he always had to play with a chip on his shoulder because he's always overlooked. But you get a player like that, or of even at any position, but especially at quarterback, obviously, who's dedicated to the game so much that he does the studies, he puts in the work, so he's prepared. Because that was another question. I guess Sean McVay said that when they first played the Patriots, he felt that he over prepared instead of sticking to what was working. And Brady was like, I disagree with that. I don't think you could be over prepared. Who's to say you're over prepared when you see something that's unique? That's not
Right.
You've
never run it before.
Yeah, so I thought that was another great insight that I heard from him. That was like his approach to the game was just different, and that's why he has so much success. So if you get a player who has any of that, and then you put him in a situation where he can thrive, I think that you'll see what Sam did, right? I remember Dante saying, he didn't mind giving up Sam because he could never see him winning the big game. And I respect Dante's, IQ when it comes to football and all that. So
he knows football. Like there's no doubt about that.
So, but it goes to show like what can be done, like you said, if you're put in the right situation with the right people around you. So,
100%.
I caught a little bit of the conference when they first got there, and they had both coaches on the stage, and they had Drake and they had Sam on the stage, and there's like, yeah, it wasn't even just my decision, the coach. It was the team, like the organization that we saw something in Sam, and kind of put in the work to get to where we are.
Yeah, no, and I think in addition to that, like you got to think back, like the 2000s. I mean, those were kind of the glory days of like the cerebral quarterback. Like now, we're wowed by the physical intangibles, right? The mobility at quarterback, the big arm, the traits. But it's not. You think about Peyton Manning, threw like 500 million interceptions his rookie season. He was awful, absolutely terrible. The Colts were trash. They didn't just move from him. In this day, you could be like, man, we don't want to see this guy, and it ends up being an all-time great because of his mind. Talk about Brady, right? Brady had pretty much instant success, but again, a guy that wasn't overwhelming you with physical traits, but again, just knew exactly what people were going to do. And we talked about it last episode, like how often, like whenever the Patriots lost, you never felt like it was because they weren't prepared. It's just another team capitalized on a mistake that they might have made. Or it's any given Sunday in the NFL. I think another good thing for this with the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl is, it kind of dispels the way that you win a Super Bowl, right? Which is either young quarterback on a cheap deal with a shit ton of talent around them, or all-time talent at quarterback that just makes everybody around them better with some solid pieces all around. Like you think about Mahomes, you think about all-time talent, all-time quarterback. You think about Brady, all-time quarterback. You think about Manning, all-time quarterback. Of course, talent around them, but not like this overwhelming talent. But Sam Darnold makes a decent chunk of change. And they were just able to surround them with a lot of talented players. JSN's on a rookie deal. They were able to get Cooper Kupp for cheap. They bring in Rashid Shaheed, smart trades. Offensive line is young. They make some good signings there. Defense is loaded. So it kind of just shows like, hey, these aren't the two ways to win. You don't have to be young. Because I think that's another reason why young quarterbacks get rushed so much. It's like, hey, we got to win now when you're cheap. Because once you get expensive, we can't load the roster up with talent around you. So I think, seeing the Seattle team win with a quarterback who is making a decent amount of money kind of shows like, hey, you can win this way too.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is good for the league, right? It's not just this kind of constant carousel of quarterbacks that aren't developed when they come into the league, and they never get a chance to because the expectation is you need to win right now. We're gonna look for the next guy.
Yeah. No, it's a great call out. Very well said. It's going to give those quarterbacks who might not have seen the light get another shot, like Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. I mean, I don't recommend that. What's crazy is that this Seahawks team almost lost to them, which is like mind blowing. But that just goes to show you the amount of parity there is in the NFL and how it really is any given Sunday. It's just this team that looked unstoppable almost lost to the Phillip Rivers led Colts.
Yeah, you got to think about it, right? Like, for those who think that the Super Bowl is a gimme for any team, it's never.
Never.
It's never. The most dominant team you've probably ever seen was the New England Patriots. And we
07.
lost. And
Yep.
we lost. Right? Even when the Patriots were a dynasty in both different times, there was opportunities to lose. We had opportunities to lose to the Eagles. Even the Panthers almost beat us.
Right.
The Rams game was a tight game. It was a defensive game. That's why people didn't like it. But
tight game.
Tight game.
The first Seahawks Super Bowl, tight game. And you guys had to come back. You guys are down 2 scores, I believe. It was like 24-14, I believe you all were down. So, no, I agree with you 100%. Think about that first. I mean, I know some of our listeners might be like, I wasn't even alive then. But it's all right. I was just a young buck, maybe like 5 years old or something like that. But that was the Kurt Warner Rams that they beat.
Yeah.
Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt.
Yeah.
Right? Think about those names. Fault. Right, exactly. Like, who thought that this young team led by Tom Brady would come in and win? But again, like you said, it just goes to show you any given Sunday. And so that's why, like, I hate the whole, this is what happened, because we've seen crazier things happen because that's just the way that the NFL is. And anytime you win 14 games, it's not by mistake. It's not by mistake that you make your way to the Super Bowl, and it's not by mistake that you win a Super Bowl. Now that we talked about the games and the team, let's talk about another spicy part of Super Bowl Sunday, the halftime. I want to get to this. I didn't talk about it on the just the Super Bowl recap that I did on Sunday because I wanted to keep that video short. And I feel like the long form pod is a better place to do this. And I know you didn't watch any of the game, so that's fine. But obviously, outside of the game, there was a large conversation, hot topics, of course, the performance of Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl 60 halftime show. And I'm going to say this about it. And excuse me if I start to get a little bit long-winded here. But I really didn't have much expectation going into it. And let me just lay the floor here, okay? Would I be... So both sets of my grandparents are from Puerto Rico. And my parents were born my parents are from New York. And then I was born and raised in Norwich, Connecticut. So does that make me third generation, second generation? Third generation. Do you know what that makes me? Like third generation Puerto Rican or whatever.
Third.
Would it be third?
Grandparents is first.
Yeah, but they was born there and grew up there. Then my parents were born here, grew up here, and so did I. But I don't listen to Bad Bunny. I don't really listen to him. I don't speak much Spanish at all. I understand some, but I don't speak Spanish. I didn't have any problems with the selection for the halftime show because we talked about it. Like, we typically don't really even pay attention to it, right? That's the time where you go up, use the bathroom. If you're cooking, you're cleaning dishes, you're getting dessert ready or whatever. But so going into, I really didn't have a ton of expectation out of it. I mean, I'm like, am I going to really ever understand what's going on? Maybe, maybe not. So as I'm watching this whole thing, what was crazy to me is, like, obviously it starts. They're in a field, people dressed up as sugarcane plants. I'm not sure if you've seen that. Those are actual people. that were in in the costumes. But as he's performing, he's going around the set. I start noticing things that I saw as a kid. Now I've never been to Puerto Rico, but a lot of the stuff from the Puerto Rican mainland has made its way to the United States, to the contiguous states, because there's so many Puerto Ricans here and people just of Hispanic descent. And so, like, I see the Piragua truck, and I see Coco Frio, and I see the old heads playing dominoes, and girls getting their nails done. You see that like in the first 30 seconds of the show. I'm like, oh, that's fire. Like, that's stuff I recognize, even though I'm not from the island, and I've never been there. And then you see them in the main set is the building, right? And then you see the store, and you see everybody dancing, and then you see the couple getting married, and everybody's dancing on top of the building, and the kids sleeping on the chairs. And it's like, that's all stuff that I saw growing up, even though I don't speak Spanish, and I've always felt a disconnect there. And I know we've had this conversation off air, where it's like, because I didn't speak Spanish, there was always like a disconnect where, yes, I'm Puerto Rican, but I mean, when you work at the store, I'm not sure you saw it, but like when people would come and ask me if I spoke Spanish, they'd be like, and I'd be like, no, like, oh, but you look Spanish. How come you don't speak Spanish? And I'm like, well, I'm Puerto Rican. It's like, well, are you? You don't speak Spanish, that kind of deal. And so it's kind of hard to associate it with, because it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't speak Spanish, right? But I'm seeing all these things that I saw in my childhood. And then you go on social media after the game, and there's people from Colombia and from Dominican Republic and Cuba and all these different places in Latin America, and they're like, "Oh, like, man, that's something similar. I could relate to that." And it's like, I got things in common with people from all over Latin America that I would have never known. And so it was a weird feeling. It was a good feeling, but it was like a weird feeling, like seeing those things and being like, dang, like, yeah, there's a place in that for me, because I'm not sure, I wouldn't say I never felt it, but I never realized what's the link to the heritage that I have, other than the fact that my grandparents came from the island. Yeah, it's my blood, but like, what's my actual connection if I don't speak the language? And I thought that was pretty cool. And the music aside, like I said, I don't listen to a lot of Bad Bunny, but I thought seeing all those things was like, dang, that's dope. Like, there was a real sense of the unity there.
Yeah, I'm happy for you, bro. If that's what that did for you, I'm happy for you. And I think that's the beauty of music, right? You don't necessarily even have to know the words. I actually seen something like, it was like, I don't even speak or understand Spanish, but I understood the message. Right? That's a lot of things that was being said. So for you to link that to even something more personal, as far as like your heritage and shit like that, that's fire. But ultimately the real message I took away from what you just said was that you want to play dominoes now, which is cool, because I love dominoes.
I dabble a little bit, but I'm not at your level. I've seen you play them.
I'm just fucking with you. I am happy for you. I think that it's fire, because if that happened for you, I'm sure that happened for someone else out there, right? Where they was able to watch this halftime show and connect some of the dots that may have been missing in their life. And I definitely understand what you're saying. Definitely not to your degree, because you are Puerto Rican. So for someone to say, "Are you?" because you're not speaking Spanish, is kind of wild. But I've been in your shoes where like they'll have a whole conversation with me, like, I don't speak Spanish. Oh, but you look Spanish. You're Juan, right? No, not Juan, ma'am. But yeah,
it was dope. It was dope to do that. And then at work the next day, people talking about it, and I'm like, and even them sharing some experiences. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, we are really more connected than we believe. There's more similar about us than there is different.
Mm-hmm.
And the only problem is we choose to focus on the things that are different to drive us apart, instead of everything that's so similar. And so that was fire. And then, so before the halftime show, because my wife ever since Bad Bunny was announced, my wife was listening to it because she doesn't speak Spanish either, but she fucks with the music. So she was listening to it. So, she puts on DTMF, the album. And so I'm like, you know what? Let me listen to it. And he brings on Ricky Martin. And I thought that performance was crazy because it was just a small
Ricky
part
Martin
of the song.
at the Super Bowl?
At the Super Bowl, yeah. And singing the song about colonization, right? And how people come to exploit, the island, the culture and everything. But what happens is it erases so much of the beauty of what it is. I mean, and we even see it in our inner cities here in America, where things getting gentrified and people getting kicked out of their rent-controlled housing because people want to build, right? And that same things are happening all over Latin America, where the people that lived there for generations and generations are getting kicked out so they can build these expensive buildings for people to live or for tourism, and all the natives are being displaced. And in that song, he's talking about like, hold on to your flag, hold on to the spirit, right? To the Boricua spirit. Don't let that go. And I've always had like a silent beef with some of the old heads, because there was even people in my family that they were older and like, you don't speak to me in Spanish, don't speak to me kind of deal. And I'm like, yo, like, it's not my fault I don't know Spanish. Like, what kid teach themselves Spanish? I didn't. You know what I mean? Like, it's not my fault. But when I heard that for the first time, I wasn't at the Super Bowl, I heard that song before, I understand now why they're so protective of that. It's like, don't lose that. Because language is a massive part of the culture. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not, because I don't speak Spanish. Your language is a massive part of your culture, right? It's as important as the food and the activities and the holidays and the celebrations, if not, maybe even more important. And so I get that. Because you lose that, what other things are you going to start to lose? But I never understood that, right? And until, I've spoken to my dad about it a bunch, and then you hear this song, and then they play at the Super Bowl again, and I'm like, it really hit home in that moment. I'm like, it's starting to make sense why it's like, you don't want to lose the spirit of who you are and what the culture is.
Mm-hmm.
Does it need to be harsh? No, not necessarily. But you want people to understand the importance of understanding what your roots are. Not so you don't change, but so it doesn't become forgotten. So you don't forget where you come from. So you can protect the people that are disadvantaged, that don't have the same opportunities as you do. Right? So you make sure that this is history. It's history. A whole culture that you're trying to preserve. And I mean, how many civilizations have been wiped off? I mean, look at what we do to our own Native Americans here. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it was just like a whole thing where I'm like looking at this, and maybe it's because I'm older now too, where I'm like, dang, all those things that the older generations in my family and my dad spoke about growing up, and the sense of unity and family, and things that as a kid, I'm like, why the fuck we at this party, man? I'm fucking 6 and it's 2 a.m. Why am I awake right now? But it's like, why is that all so important? And it doesn't mean nothing to you. And sometimes you gotta take a step back. You're like, now I get it. Because you let go of those things, or you let other people tell you, why are we celebrating this? It's not a big deal. Just let it go. This would be better for you. And you lose all of that. You lose it all. So it was powerful.
This guy got another cup?
This is water.
Water. Now he's from Boston.
Hey, listen, I got a map of Connecticut behind me, so I gotta switch it up.
Show your New England roots.
Gotta represent.
Yeah, I gotta go back. I could at least go back and watch that. Do my due diligence. And
it's fine, bro.
It's crazy because, like, as much people that was protesting about it and not wanting to watch it, and all these other
they watched it.
View, most viewed halftime show in history.
They watched it all right. And I love the commentary around it, whether it's good or bad, right? Because people are talking. It just means that people are talking about it. All the people that said they weren't gonna watch it, guess what they did? They watched it one way or another, right? Whether it was clipped up after they watched whatever they wanted to watch in the beginning, people talking about it in the office. Ask people talking. It's a conversation, and things don't happen without conversation. Now, some of the dialogue isn't great, but I'm not even getting into it on this show. All I'm gonna say about all that is this: if the first words that come out of people's mouths about anything are hate, then maybe that tells you all you need to know about that person. And why even entertain the conversation at that point? And that's that. It's cool. Let them have their opinion. That's cool. Let them have their opinion. You don't have to engage with shit like that. Because you know what it does? Because I'm seeing a lot of it, because they're comparing the two shows. Number one, why are we even comparing anything? Why are we comparing anything? That organization made their own choice, as they're free to do that, and people made their own choice to watch what they wanted to watch. And you watched whatever you wanted to watch, and we could respect that. And if they want to be disrespectful, let them be disrespectful. We don't got to stoop to that level. We don't got to do that. We don't got to engage in it. Why even waste your time doing it? Because you know what it is? They want you to engage that way. They want you to engage that way because it's like, see, that's how they act. You can't have that message that he put out there, right? That the only thing stronger than hate is love, and then come out and start hating on people. You can't do it. You can't do it. And so then they got you right away. They say something to bait you. It's like, see, where's the love in your heart? Look at all that. Look at all the shit that you're saying. Because we put on this other show. Come on now. And people falling for that shit. People falling for that. That was a beautiful celebration of your culture, your heritage. Who gives a fuck what else anybody got to say about it? You know what it was? Then so be it. And that's it. People talking about lyrics. They weren't concerned. They weren't concerned with lyrics when Kendrick Lamar did his whole shit, pretty much calling Drake a pedophile. Nobody was talking about lyrics last year. I'm not even calling him out for doing that. That is what that is. But it was never about the lyrics. It was never about the people dancing. It was never about any of that. It's about them hating and wanting to pull you in with them so they can undermine what was going on. What's supposed to be a positive, jovial, joyful time, they want to take that and anger you. And they're getting you. Leave it alone. That's it. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
I respect it. Very well said. Very well said, bro. I came across like an ad or a commercial or some shit recently, and it had something to do with like the neighbors. And the message I took away from it was love thy neighbor. Right? Like love thy neighbor. And I forgot that I read also how Bad Bunny, I guess, put that as the message at the end was the only thing stronger than hate is love. Right? Is that what it was?
Yep.
That's a great message.
That's a fact.
But I think that people who enjoyed the show and even people who didn't, if you could appreciate that message, just start putting it into practice, because it's almost like those ideas, right? A lot of people have these great ideas and they come to me like, Quan, I want to do this, I want to do that. What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Just do it.
100%, bro. 100%. Because you know what? A message is just a message until you act on it.
That's what I told us. An idea is just an idea to put into action.
You got to move on it, man. And the thing is too, like, let me say, but it's like it's not like it's easy, right? It's not like it's easy to do. Because when you know that people, because there's a lot of fake information going around, especially about visibility and numbers and who watched what and all that stuff, right? There's a lot of rage baiting going on right now, and sometimes it's so easy to get swept up in it because you're so passionate about something. But I'm telling you what, man, like the best thing that you could do if you feel yourself getting annoyed and enraged, put your phone down. Just don't go on social media. Maybe even get rid of it for the time being until things cool off, or permanently. Might do you some good.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Was it Drake that said opinions from total strangers taking me out of my ways? I'm pretty sure he did say that.
Wow, this guy's even
I'm
blessing
back.
us with some Drake bars again.
Big. I don't got the whole bar, but I'm pretty sure that's Emotionless or Scorpion.
We're on this music thing, right? And we don't talk a lot of music. In fact, most of the music shows we didn't even put out. But did you listen
Yeah.
to Cole's new shit?
I only listened to like one track. I haven't listened to everything. I only listen to one track like in depth. I haven't listened to the whole
Yeah,
thing.
I haven't.
Really taking time.
I haven't either. I was just asking if you did. I know that from what people were talking about, like he did a song backwards kind of thing. And he addressed some things. I want to listen to it. I gotta listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. Going back to the halftime show, about because everything in this world right now, everything seems like it's so political, right? Like there's a side to everything, and everybody's trying to get the ears of people, try to influence or sway them. I just don't know how people live their lives that way. Like, doesn't that take the enjoyment out of it? It just feels like it would suck the life out of me if I'm just sitting here trying to analyze, like, what did he really mean by that, and what is he trying to say by that, and why does everybody hate America? Like I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, is that a satisfying life for you? And who's to say they even feel that way? They could just be posting that shit because they know it's going to drive engagement, kind of like how we talked about last episode, where hate sells more than love does. But I don't know. I feel like that's just a miserable spot to be in.
Yeah.
Constant negativity.
Yeah. It's almost like what I was telling you, working on is protecting my peace, right? But if I'm protecting my peace, but I'm the one creating that energy because, I'm looking for the message within the message and all that, you're not able to even really enjoy anything because you're too busy trying to dissect something that might not even be there. It's just a weird thing. I think, unfortunately, where we are, there's so much energy being channeled to look for like the hatred and negative shit. That's like, bro, what are we doing? What are we doing?
It's just, I don't know, man. I remember I opened up social media like after it just to see what people were saying, and that was probably one of the worst decisions I could have ever made. Cause it's like, man, it instantly kills your mood when everybody's just arguing about something that is supposed, like I said, supposed to be a joyful time. So, yeah, I encourage you to go back and watch that.
No, I will.
And maybe even take note of all the things that you recognize in there. Cause like I said, even my wife, who's from the Philippines, was like, I recognize some of this stuff, or we have something similar to what you have here. Which I also thought was interesting because, like I said, you have so much more in common than you have different. And if the only difference in some of the things that you see is the language, then hey, you still have a lot of other things in common. And sometimes you gotta look beyond just that one barrier. Sometimes people let that stop them. And it just goes to show you like how easily people can just be dissuaded or influenced to go do something else. I think that was one of the biggest takeaways too, is like one person says, oh, this is an awful halftime show, and then everybody hops on that bandwagon. And it's like, do you have any kind of individual thoughts? Like, how about you watch it?
Yeah.
As you see, I'm not talking about the other show. I didn't watch it. So I can't tell you if it was good or not. Maybe it was. I have no clue. I couldn't tell you. I didn't watch it. But for those that are saying they didn't watch the other one but saying that it was terrible, how do you know? You're not even trying to formulate your own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking the word of other people. You're not doing your own research. You're not doing none of that. You're just like, hey, this person who I think is smart said something, so I'm gonna echo and parrot the same thing, and that's how groupthink happens, and then that's how people become sheep, but sheep for the wrong reason and for the wrong cause. So I encourage you. You didn't see
You
it?
just reminded me of
Why not?
when you looked up. What was the shit you looked up? And it was like when people come together against a common
What?
enemy.
Oh, I don't know. What was that?
It was like the hate group or something like that.
Oh yeah, I was like, why do people love hatred? Because the enemy of my
Yeah.
enemy is my friend. Yeah, it's like, come on, bro. Come on. It's only like 15 minutes long. You don't got 15 minutes, you can spend 15 minutes doing other shit. And so the people are like, oh, I don't understand them. Listen, do you really understand the country music singers when they say stuff? No. Do you understand half the rappers when they're rapping? No. But you still listen to it? Why not? Right? Why not? Is it gonna kill you? Maybe. I don't know.
This guy's good.
Like that? I will totally forget if I didn't do that. That's why. Anything else you want to cover before we wrap? All right. Well, I'm glad we were able to talk about that. Get Quan on the show, of course. Get his opinions about the game and everything around it. Some outlook for the Seahawks and the New England Patriots. We'll eventually cover more teams. I'm not going to promise all 32 because I really don't give a shit about, I don't know, pick random team. Atlanta Falcons. Couldn't care less. So we might, who knows? So look forward to that. We have some other ideas to keep things spicy in the football all season as well. But appreciate everybody rocking with us for another amazing NFL season. And as always, think critically, speak infamously. It's love.
Love.